Just like your wheels and tires, the decision to lift your Jeep is not one you should take lightly. The wrong lift can dramatically affect the way your Jeep handles.
The first thing you want to do is ask yourself what you want to do with your Jeep. Will it be a commuting vehicle? Will it spend a lot of time on the highway?
Maybe you're just going to use it on the weekends. Maybe it'll just be a weekend warrior. But what about those in-between Jeeps? Maybe it'll be a dual-purpose vehicle.
I'd be willing to bet that over half of new Jeep owners are in the dual-purpose crowd, and a small lift would do the trick.
You commute in that Jeep all week, but on the weekends, you skip that morning shave, you go out and air down the tires, you lock it in, and you take the kids fishing. You know, opinions are a low-cost commodity, and everyone is equipped with one and willing to share.
No kidding, Dennis. At Terraflex, we have a butt for every seat.
Yeah, that's right, Jen. We do have several qualified individuals willing to express their opinions.
Most people think that the higher they go, the better the lift. That they need the higher ground clearance to clear bigger tires, to four-wheel better. Well, I've always thought just pretty much the opposite of that. The lower you go, the lower you stay, the more stable the Jeep. I usually go with the 2.5 to 3 inch lift.
Originally I liked the 3-inch kits with 35s combination, but after I saw our first JK that Terraflex had built with 4-inch kit and 37s, I knew that's what I had to go with.
I think I will always have 40-inch tires. What's it going to take to clear that 40-inch tire? It's going to take a 6-inch lift. You know, LCG, of course, our long arm kit. Of course, that's what I did.
Basically, your tire size and your lift kit, they kind of go hand in hand. You know, you either choose what tire you want to run, and then you base your lift height off of that.
When you look at the numbers, you're probably not spending 10 out of every 1,000 miles on the trail. And so you really want a Jeep that you can drive around town, you can use it, your wife can drive it, you can take it on vacation, it's stable on the road, but at the same time you can go out to Moab and have a lot of fun in. A lot of these Jeeps are actually a second car to people, or maybe even their first car, and you know, especially if you're having a family that's climbing in and out of them all the time, you know, with the 4 doors, you're seeing more and more families using them, and it's just a lot nicer situation to be able to get in and out of them.
The big advantage of a budget boost is you're able to get a larger tire without a lot of expense. Because a budget boost is just a spring spacer, you still use your factory springs, and you're still using your factory spring rate. So luckily with the JK, they give us a lot bigger openings. So, you know, with a 2.5-inch budget boost, we're able to run up to a 35-inch tire. And it all depends on what type of trail that you want to run. When you start running a little bit harder trails, you're going to have a hard time with some obstacles. You're going to not have as much ground clearance. Your breakover angle is going to be less. Your approach angle and your departure angle is going to be less. So you want to be sure that you're tall enough that you clear that, otherwise you're going to drag. And it just depends, you know, maybe you've got, you're okay with dragging because you've got heavy duty rockers and you've got heavy duty skid plates, but that will keep you from getting body damage, but you can still get hung up. Now the spring lift is, you know, that has its advantage because now it's not a spacer, so now you have more spring. One of the things we're able to do because we're doing a spring is we can add a little bit more spring rate, and so that will help you, you know, if you're running like a winch in the front or a spare, you know, a heavier spare tire in the back, it'll help you not be affected by the weight as much. The thing is when you're adding a budget boost, you're just adding a spacer block. But when you're adding spring, you're actually adding active coils. And so that's going to give you suspension movement. You've got more spring travel with that.
The spring lift benefits also include additional lift in the front to get rid of that nose-low factory rake.
So if you're a weekend warrior out to do some fishing, or maybe some light trail use, but still need to get the kids to football, the budget boost or spring lift is probably all you need.
That's going to get you where you want to go. It's going to allow you to run a little bit bigger tire, and it's going to give you a great ride.
But if you decide to go big, you're going to need a lift with some adjustability to correct geometry and to save your driveline from a short and painful life.
So if you want to be a man, you have to pay to play. Bigger lifts require more components and added costs.
We have a kit that only includes 4 arms, where we include front lowers, and what those front lowers allow you to do is they allow you to lengthen that front lower, and that's going to get your caster back. And there's 2 things that you're playing with, though. It's caster and pinion angle. So you've got to compromise between the 2, because the angle between your pinion and your caster is fixed, because it's a solid axle. You know, if you look at that drive line at the axle housing, as you drop that down, as you lift, so really as you're lifting it, it's becoming steeper. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that that drive line's pointed right at your transfer case, so that you can reduce drive line vibration and reduce basically the strain on the U-joint. The rear is doing the same thing, but the rear, there's no caster in the rear. So the rear, what you're doing is you're adjusting your drive line angle. As you lift the vehicle, you're losing wheelbase because of the arc of the arms. You start to lose wheelbase. And so when you buy a kit that includes all 8 arms, what that allows you to do is it allows you to stretch that tire back, move the axle back into position, get the factory wheelbase again. You know, with a 3-inch, we still recommend only a 35-inch tire, because we're only talking about going 2.5-inch to 3-inch. So not that big a difference between these spring kits. So you're still going to run a 35, but it does give you a little bit more ground clearance. Basically, you're a little bit higher than you were with the 2.5. You know, one of the advantages of our arms is if you look at them, we include a joint on one end. It's actually a flexible joint that allows you to get more articulation than just a rubber bushing.
Here we have a 2010 Rubicon 4-door Unlimited, of course. We've got our 2.5-inch kit on this with 35-inch tires. I hear the hitch dragging, but that's it. Basically what's happening underneath there is that we're actually, the breakover angle is too great on this obstacle to obviously get this Jeep up and over, just because of the wheelbase. Oh, I thought it wanted it there.
A 2-door JK with the same 2.5-inch spring lift would have easily cleared that obstacle, just because of the wheelbase difference. Wheelbase length can work for you as well as against you. Now, if you're building a 2-door, you would not need as much lift as a 4-door to clear the same obstacle's breakover. However, a longer 4-door wheelbase will shine on that steep incline. Yeah, it's a wheelbase thing. We take the good with the bad.
Really, the way you want to build your rig is you want to figure out, what I want to do, what I want to be able to do, trails I want to do, the ease I want to do it with, and then that's how you outfit your vehicle.
All right, so you've had pretty much a full day on the trail. What do you think?
I have to say, it's nice. I mean, driving it stock is nice, but I know I'm going to lift it. And I've done a ton of research. And there's a couple of looks I like. I like the big burly looks.
Yeah, don't we all?
But, with my budget, I'm thinking a 35 tire. But I don't want a 35 tire. I want at least a 37, but I'm not sure what that entails.
You can run a 37-inch tire and on a 3-inch lift. With a 37-inch tire, we need to be able to move that tire back and forth in the fender well. So if you got a fender well, that tire has to be in the center of it so it can go up and down and not rub.
And you're saying with a 3-inch lift, I can actually adjust that?
As long as you got the adjustable arms. There's one more option we could do to make it work a little easier, and that's to throw a 1-inch body lift at it.
Now wait a minute. Is that what I think it is? Is that the... Well, I don't want to look like a Suzuki Samurai.
Yeah, body lifts get a bad rap, all right? 1 inch. I'm talking 1 inch. Do a 3-inch lift. We can run these stock drive lines. That's going to save you a ton of money, $1,000, for drive lines. For a set of drive lines.
So you're basically telling me that I can take the money that I would invest in a drive line, put it towards, say, towards the tires. Or...
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Well, that makes the wife happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
You save some money on the lift. We still got your big tires, so it's going to look good, and you will love the difference.
I think you can do a lot of stuff with the small lifts. It's just that those don't fit my personality or what I or what I want out of a JK. The small lifts has a lot of advantages with, you know, better gas mileage. They're easier to get into, but the problem with those is that they're, in my opinion, they're more plain looking. They get more lost in the crowd. I like a vehicle that kind of stands out. I like a vehicle that's got some personality to it.
Well, there's a lot to be said about ego. Yeah, you're right about that. And there's nothing wrong with it. If you like the stance of a Jeep with the taller lift, you know, it's your Jeep. It's your Jeep. Do what you want with it. A lot more geometry issues when you go taller. So.
He wants it to be quicker. You know, he wants to run the smaller tire. There's no reason for him to go with that bigger lift. He starts running a 37, it's going to rob you of horsepower. One of the advantages, by keeping it low when you're pre-running, you're keeping your center of gravity down. You're running a smaller tire. It allows you're going to have a lot quicker acceleration. On the other hand, as you look at it on the trail, it's going to be a lot more capable rig. But someone like Jeff, he's not interested in running that type of trail.
To me, bigger tire is better. So if you can manage to stay low and clear a bigger tire, I think that's going to benefit you more.
So when you run a 4-inch kit, you've got two choices. You can do our short arm kit or you can do our long arm kit. The advantage of the short arm kit is it's probably the most cost-effective way to get that 37-inch tire under there, because you're just mounting to your factory mounts on the frame. So once we go to a long arm kit, and your geometry is changing so much from the factory geometry that you actually need to start doing, you know, a more drastic correction. And you do that by cutting off the factory control arm mount brackets and weld on new mounts. That actually, it's going to shallow up the angle of the control arm, and it's going to put the geometry where we want it, so that it'll give you a better ride on the road and off the road.
I think a lot of the advantages of the taller kit over the lower kits is the added ground clearance. You clear your obstacles better when you're off-road. This is my tallest Jeep that I've ever owned. This is my 2012. I like the looks. I like the clearance I have.
It's a big jump up in performance from the short arm kit, especially when we're talking, you know, 4 inches of lift. You really need to do some correction to the suspension dynamics.
Anything more where you're running 37s or 40-inch tires, you're really getting into axle issues and gearing issues and drivetrain strength, engine power issues, and you can't really do that many more trails. And the trails that you do, chances are you're gonna get some body damage. And do you really want body damage on your new Jeep?
Obviously, it's big. You got to build it right to withstand the abuse that it's going to take.
So I have a 4-inch long arm kit. I'm running a TerraFlex Terra 44 front axle with 538 gears and the E-locker. I have a TerraFlex CRD 60, also with an Eaton E-locker. 4-inch speed bumps in the front and in the rear, a little bit different than what a normal person would have. I like all the compression range of the 4-inch speed bumps. I'm just going to come up to this obstacle slow. I don't need to ram it. I want to make sure my bumper clears it. Make sure everything looks good. And then give it a little gas.
Four to six is the same way. You're going to be running a bigger tire if you're running a 6-inch lift. You know, you're going to be running a 38. So on the trail, you're going to have a lot easier time going around and up and over obstacles. You go to 37s and 38s, you've got to do something to your gearing. So that means you're changing your ring and pinion front and rear. You got to gear it down in order to compensate for that bigger tire. You can run the stock axle with just new gearing. The problem is what that tire's doing, you know, that bigger diameter tire, it's giving you more leverage to brake that axle. The other thing that happens is with the taller lift, you're having a lot more air pass underneath the vehicle. You know, there's a lot of things hanging down. It's not a nice, smooth transition for that air, so there's a lot of turbulence. There's going to be a lot more drag underneath the vehicle. The more drag, that's the more air is trying to slow you down, the less fuel efficient your vehicle is going to be.
I didn't buy a Jeep for gas mileage, but this new 3.6 liter, I'm actually getting 16.8 miles to the gallon with 60 axles. Of course, I am a manual trans, so that helps a little bit, but still, I mean, I No complaints with gas mileage. Obviously, you're not going to be getting the 20 that it was getting stock, but I think anyone that's lifting their vehicle is going to realize, hey, bigger tire, heavier tire, thicker gears. I mean, it takes a lot more to turn that.
The practical reason for a bigger lift is all found on the trails. When you come up to something, you're going to have a lot steeper approach angle. So your tires are going to start hitting that rock ledge first, and with that bigger tire is going to give you more leverage to be able to get up and start moving up the face of that rock. The other thing is on a departure angle, as you're coming off a ledge, you're coming down off of a boulder, you're not going to get the body damage that you would. You can drive a little less carefully, or do things that other vehicles can't, because you can go ahead and allow that back end to come down because it's not going to hit because you're so tall. The other thing that happens is as you have rocks come up under the belly, you can go ahead and straddle a lot bigger rock.
I have had Jeeps with the Hemis and 5 inches of lift and the 60 axles, and they're good. That's fun. They're a lot of fun. But for the actual utility and being a grocery getter at the same time and being able to take it around town all day, the 2.5 to 3 inch lift on a JK is much more manageable for everyday use. So it's just a lot better situation.
I like to go fast in between obstacles, and I like to be able to get to an obstacle and choose if I want to go slow or if I want to fly up it. To me, the 4-inch kit is the best mid-range kit there is.
I mean, it is very smooth. Bumps, nothing, no death wobble, no nothing. I mean, it is just extremely smooth, and I'm extremely happy with the setup that I have.
There's some great companies out there that make some great lifts. Some drive well on the road, others drive well off the road. Now the trick here is to find a lift that will drive well on the road as well as off the road. That's where the TerraFlex Advantage comes in.